the oldest stadium in the country, Vaught Hemingway in Oxford, Mississippi, home of the Ole Miss Rebels, where the fans never lose a tailgate and don't plan on losing the game today. A Big Ten showdown is coming. Conference implications aplenty that could resonate for the rest of the season. As we'll see, the Iowa Hawkeyes taking on one of the top teams in this conference, the Ole Miss Rebels. Glad to have you with us for EA Sports College Football. I'm Reese Davis. They think they can impose their will here with the run to the right. He is going nowhere. Stop at the line of scrimmage.
Stopping the run is about physicality. It's about I'm bigger than you, I'm stronger than you up front. Really nice job by the defense, showing their strength, bowing up, stuffing the run.
Forges ahead, picks up about 3 to the 29.
Man, it's really hard to control the running game if you don't control the line of scrimmage. And how about the defensive line doing a great job attacking those guys up front, not open up lanes to run through. Nice job just nullifying that run altogether.
He's got an open man. And an explosive play has him on the move, and he gets it all the way to the 48-yard line. And the Rebels will snap it on 1st and 10. Running back searching for a hole. Not much running room there thanks to this senior defender.
And the defense doing a great job committing to the run. When you commit to the run like this, obviously you can give up some plays in the passing game, but you got to stop the run first.
Give to the running back. And maybe he'll get back to the line of scrimmage, but no more than that.
Great job of contained by this defense. And in order to do that, the end man on the line of scrimmage defensively has got to be able to set the point and force the football back into traffic. And that's exactly what happened there.
Fires left. And they'll miss the connection here on 3rd down.
And I think on that last play, that's an example of the quarterback trying to predetermine who he wants to throw to, and instead of letting the defense dictate who gets the ball. Man coverage, that guy was not open that time out on the perimeter of the field. Still, he gave him a chance, but that thing had incompletion written all over it from the...
Picked off, and the opening drive is stopped with an interception. The drive starts from their own 25-yard line. Back to throw, it's Simmons. Got it in the middle, it's Wilson.
Well, they execute the end route. How about the arm strength by the QB? That was an absolute bullet on that completion.
They're looking to throw on 2nd and short. And it'll be incomplete. This defense is physical and pass deep.
Sometimes it takes quarterbacks a few plays to really get into the rhythm of the game and not force things. I think the quarterback that time was really trying to force the ball to his wide receiver, but against man coverage, there were other guys on that.
Breaks into the open. No, he loses the ball after the huge gain. Defense got it, they're on the run.
And I tell you what, man.
The Ole Miss offense ready to go back to work. They coughed it up on that last drive, but the defense really bailed them out, holding him to a field goal, Jesse.
Yeah, and I think the offense kind of got away from their identity a little bit on that last drive, David. They got to kind of get back to doing what they do.
Yeah, and hold on to the football. I mean, defense just did their job. Stopped them, held them to a field goal, limited the damage. Now it's time for the offense to get the momentum going again.
And he's brought down after a solid gain, and we are done in the first quarter. We've come to the break, and Iowa has the lead. Man, that was an impressive and dominant first quarter. Let's take a look at the stats before we move on. Just about ready to get things started here in the second. We'll see if they continue to flex that muscle. This offense had a little extra time to think about it. Let's see what they have on 3rd down. It's a game of first downs, and they've got one out to their own 37.
Yeah, and it's so nice. Don't overthink it, right? Just hand it off, get the first down, new set of downs, let's go.
They've got it at the 37. It's 1st and 10. They'll knock him down for a loss of a couple.
This offense has got to get this thing going, man. Nowhere to go. Where do you want the running back to go? He gets tackled for a loss. Offensive line has to block better. They got to create some holes. They've gone nowhere. Several drives, no points. They need something to go right for this offense.
The run game just has not been working for this offense all game long. You saw it on that last play as well. Just not getting enough push up front on the offensive line. They haven't been physical enough.
It'll be 3rd and long. Looking to throw, it's Simmons. Dances away. Pressure is on the way, and the pressure has arrived, and down he goes at the 30. The Rebels will punt this one away. This will be their first punt of the afternoon. Not going to get a chance to field that. So the first play of the drive, starting here from the 45. Looking to throw on 1st down. And those two couldn't make the connection. It's an incomplete pass.
We just have not seen this offense look very sharp so far in this game. Running or throwing it. In the second half, throwing it specifically, I think they need to find a better rhythm. They've got to find a way to get some completions strung together.
And the big tight end, a lot of times that's a bigger strike zone, a bigger dude, and you could tell they put the hit on him, and that ball came out, and it came to the turf. Nice job playing physical by this defense.
He took a hit as he threw it and couldn't deliver the football. It's incomplete, and 4th down's coming. And the Rebels will send out the punt unit. This will be the 2nd time they've had to kick it away. Hauls it in at the 25. Everybody stays. No reason to be in a big rush. They have some time here late in the half. From the gun, running back gets to give. He's loose at the 15. He's into the open down the middle. The 40. The 20. He's at the... And he ran away from the defense to take it in. Touchdown, Ole Miss.
I mean, let's go. That's a day's worth of yards right there on one carry. The home run hitter takes the snap, gets the football. He does the rest, shows off the speed, taking it 90-plus yards to the house.
They'll get a chance to work on that hurry-up offense here in the final minute of the first half. Out of the shotgun, they go to the ground. Got enough for the first. Gets it inside the 40, brought down at the 39, and they can stop the clock. There's a timeout on the field. Tight game here late in the first half. They'll snap it from the 39, 1st and 10. From the gun, running back on the move. Creating some space, getting just enough good blocking, and they've got it up to the 47-yard line. The offense burns its 3rd and final timeout of the half. The Rebels with myriad options after that big pickup on 1st down. They'll run it out of the shotgun. They make the stop, but he'll have enough yardage for a 1st down.
All right, nothing flashy there. He just did what it took to get the 1st down.
And the Rebels will have it 1st and 10. The give to the left. And a good, solid pickup there before the defense knocks him down. We've played 2 quarters here. Time to go to Kevin Connors in our halftime update.
Thanks, guys. A memorable first half of football so far today in Oxford. And how do we possibly begin without singing the praises of this receiver? His ability to find gaps, run textbook routes, and then show that breakaway speed. He simply is the total package. How this secondary responds, whether they try to double team him or get aggressive at the line, that'll be the story of this second half. And with that, let's head back to the Grove and our fellas at Vaught Hemingway Stadium.
All right, Kevin, about ready to start the second half here. The Rebels will boot it away to start the second half. He'll bring it back from inside his 5. Nice job by the kickoff team. They'll snap it from the 20 for the opening play of this drive. From the gun to give, looking for room. This time they stop him behind the line of scrimmage, and boy, that has been rare in this one. Not what they had in mind to start this drive. Here comes 2nd and 13. They'll keep it on the ground. May not be the most memorable play of the day, but it's important as he gets them out to the 25-yard line. Looking for a man, it's Simmons. Oh, they really could have used that catch there. Physical pass defense. It brings up a 4th down. He'll try to throw and pick up the 1st down. Complete out of the backfield. That'll be good enough for a 1st down. They'll mark it at the 30. Here's this offense with a fresh set of downs. Looking for a physical attack from the gun. Pushes ahead for a couple. They'll mark it at the 33.
That's a really good job by the defense, wrapping them up, getting them on the ground. Take away that run game. Make them one-dimensional, put them in passing situations. Really good job by the defense.
Good pickup on the ground, and they'll mark him down at the 39.
Keep pounding away at this defense and make them play the run. If you can get this many a chunk, they're going to have to commit more guys to the box, more guys to the run. Then you open it up for the passing game.
On 3rd and short, they keep it on the ground here. Gets it to the 46-yard line. First down for this offense.
Awesome job. Run the football, right? It's really basic. Go to those plays you know can get you first downs, get you some extra set of downs, then you can go make big plays.
And the Rebels have this offense rolling. Now they'll try the right side. And this one will be stopped for no gain. Looks as if we have an injury on that last play, and we'll take a break to check him out. Didn't get much on first down. It's 2nd and 9. They'll try the run. Got enough for the first down. All down, but he has enough to move the chains. The Rebels have it with a 1st and 10. To the ground with the back. They'll knock him down for a loss of a couple.
And sometimes for the defense, it just takes one play, right, to create some momentum. Obviously, this guy's been eating him up. He's got over 100 yards rushing on to David. Finally, David, they get something positive here in the run game defensively.
But you kind of know that coming in. He's going to get his. Such a great back, and he's had a great day. Need to put more plays together like that right there.
Man down on the play as the officials take a break to let him be checked out. And the Rebels are in a mess here on 3rd and a mile. Wants to throw. It's Simmons. That's caught. It's Watkins. Crosses the 35. Out of bounds there. Nice pickup on the play. Spotted at the 32. And this set of downs gets started from the 33. 1st and 10. Wants to go up top on first down. All kinds of room to throw that one in there. Defense makes a stop, but the chains move, and it's 1st and goal from the 8.
Well, the quarterback saw man coverage, and right away he knew if I can look the safety off, I've got a chance at hitting the post throw to the outside, and it's just mano-y-mano out there. Who wants the ball more? And the offense comes up with the big play.
He'll be brought down at the 5-yard line, and this defense is on its heels. Looks as if we have an injury on that last play, and we'll take a break to check him out. Picked up some of what they needed on first down. Now it's 2nd and goal from the 5. Trying to steamroll his way in. And he was fortunate not to lose yardage on that play, able to wedge it back to the line of scrimmage.
Man, and that's a frustrating play when you go in reverse near the goal line, goal-to-go situations, Palmer. You got to get those positive yards. You can't go backwards if you're trying to get a touchdown.
You know, I'm trusting in my quarterback here to make the right decision. Looks like we're going to have to throw it, right? But if it's not open, just throw this thing away. You don't want to take a sack, lose extra yardage here. Just be smart with the football.
The offense trying to find a way on 4th and goal from the 2. Was to pass. Unleashes to the end zone. Oh, what a play. It's intercepted. They'll move the wide receiver. To the air, it's Simmons. Looking to scramble. Got his man on the outside. Not much running room there thanks to this senior defender.
This is a fun spot to be in defensively. Like, it's late in the football game. You know they're passing the football because you're up a couple of scores. You ping.
Going to throw it over the top of the deep. And the incomplete pass taking a shot on 2nd down, and they'll be left with a 3rd down. Trying to pick up a 1st down. Quarterback adjusting the pattern. On 3rd and long, he's going to have to throw for it. And it's incomplete despite some serious arm strength shown there.
And you got to expect this offense to go for it again here on 4th down, right? Obviously trailing, we're in the 2nd half, but we saw them try to go for it on 4th down early. Didn't have any success. They've got to dial up a better play here.
They got him. It's a... Looking to throw on 1st down. Fires to the right. And that incomplete pass caused by the big hit on first down. Second down coming.
Love the physicality of this secondary on defense. That defender got to the football, was able to separate the receiver from the ball, and did it legally. Beautiful job.
Creates a little room. Turning it on. Got to be smart, patient, great vision. Uses all of that to get to the 29. The Rebels are at the line looking to convert on third and short. Wants to throw on third. Under fire. And trying to put points on the board on third down. Now they're staring at fourth down. No sign of the punt team as they will go for it and try to move those chains. He's got it. First down and more. And he surges up to the 36-yard line, and they'll move the chains. A first and 10 for this offense. Back to throw, it's Simmons. And it's picked off for the third time today. He couldn't quite get... They'll crank up this drive with the pass. Quarterback adapted. Just gets rid of the football. Nobody to throw it to. It'll be second down. Couldn't make the connection last time. Let's see if they throw it again. He wants to change this route. Going to sling it on second down. And the quarterback will be forced out of bounds short of the line of scrimmage. I think they'll give him a sack.
Where QBs get flushed outside the pocket and they have to scramble. You go into scramble rules, but more importantly, I think as a quarterback, I just want you to throw the football away when you get a chance. Throw that thing out of bounds. I don't get a loss on the play. Instead, the ball gets moved back to the line of scrimmage. I'd like to see him do that a little bit more.
He goes out of bounds right at the 37-yard line. A good, productive play there to get things going. And the Rebels with the first and 10. Looking downfield on first down. And that one's incomplete. Worth taking a shot there, but couldn't hook up.
One of the biggest reasons today why this offense is losing in the game is they haven't been able to get it going throwing the football. This guy still has not thrown a touchdown pass. They thought coming into this game they were going to have tons of success throwing it, but you got to give the defense credit. They watched the film. They've been mixing up their looks defensively, trying to confuse this quarterback, and again, on that last deep shot, it falls incomplete.
Catch in the middle, it's Wilson. How many guys are left grabbing for air as he gets it to the 26-yard line? The Rebels want to move quickly. 2 minutes now left in this one, and time is running short if they want to find a way to pull this one out. Second down coming up. Off play action. Here comes the heat. And the quarterback will take a sack back at the 36.
And they get him again. This is a offense that you expect them to protect their guy. I mean, he is a dude that you know if you give him time, he's going to make plays. But this defense is making sure he's not getting that time.
And that's just the kind of game it's been for this quarterback in this offense. You got a great game plan all week long. You're watching it throughout practice. You think you're going to have a chance to light up the scoreboard, but they're just not able to hook up. You got to give this.
Lets it fly deep downfield. And it's batted away. You know, there's no real reason to panic, but if you think about it, when does panicking ever really help? But certainly this was a bitterly disappointing outcome.
And you can look at a lot of different statistics, and I know we tend to overcomplicate college football these days, but guys, at the end of the day, it comes down to two very simple things. You can't turn the ball over, and you can't have penalties. You do those things, David, and it'll beat you every time.
That's the difference between winning and losing. It's the small things, but find those things that you need to improve on. Keep working on them. Keep developing. Those things you do well, let's do those. Let's do more of those things more consistent.
Thanks so much for spending some time with us. For David Pollack and Jesse Palmer, I'm Reese Davis, and this has been another presentation of EA Sports College Football.